Hello everyone, and welcome to my very cluttered desk where I just moved some things off and wiped this down, and it still doesn't look clean. I think I have to replace this mat pretty soon. It was good for a while, but it's just there's some things that have happened on it that just haven't gone away. So I'm here today to talk about 3 Ferris Wheel Press inks that I was sent to review. I have been using their inks for, I want to say 2 years. The first one I bought was called, I think it was called Cream of Earl or something like that. It's a beautiful sort of very soft, subtle taupe. It's gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. So I had that one, and I've used it mostly in artwork, not so much for writing, because it's a fairly light ink, but it is so beautiful, and it does really pretty separations of color. And then the second one I bought was Grey Poupon, or Goose Poupon, and then Goose Poupon, and then, which is a kind of a golden olive. And then I also have Radiant Rose Wing, and I have Frontenac Blue, which I love both of those. Those are what live in my Magic Wand Twisbies right now. This is Radiant Rose Wing, and this is Frontenac Blue. And I call these my Magic Wands. They are very special pens to me. But today I have 3 new colors, and I agreed to... And I'm very excited about being an ambassador for this brand, for their inks. Because I love them, and I would love to explore more with them. And so I'm here today to look at these 3 new ones that they sent to me. I can tell that I love them already. So this one is called Malibu Blush. This one is called Bookkeeper's Brass. And this one is called Cabernet on the Lake. So we're going to look at each of them, but before we get into it, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little swab and a writing sample with a glass pen, and then let that dry, and then come back, and then I'm going to use them as watercolor on watercolor paper, because even though they are dye based and not light fast at all, they are really, really fun to use for expressive journaling and just artwork that you might send on a postcard or make a card for a friend. Certainly not something that you're going to frame and sell that you want to stand the test of time, but more for fun, expressive, joyful work, which we really need for our spirits, right? Very, very important. So let's take a look at each of these. I'm going to start with the Malibu Blush. And first of all, can we just admire the packaging, the graphic design, the colors, the beautiful gold shimmer? Their boxes are exquisite. Their packaging is exquisite. Absolutely beautiful. So this one, it basically has the name of the ink on the front, and then it says Ferris Wheel Press fountain pen inks are water-based, evenly toned, rich, and saturated. Compatible with all fountain pens and dip pens for your next stroke of genius. And they're a Canadian company, and their little motif is a maple leaf, which I love. So all of the boxes will say the same thing, okay? All right, or maybe not. Well, we'll take a look at each of them. So anyways, their packaging is absolutely stunning. And the only thing, the bottles are stunning. The only thing that I will say as a person who uses fountain pens on a regular basis, every day, all day long, and fills pens all the time, is that these bottles are very difficult to fill from. They're gorgeous. I love them. I love having them on my shelf. Here's the name, Malibu Blush. This is 38 milliliters of ink. It's this gorgeous, transparent, sort of I don't know if it's warm or cool pink yet. So it's really hard to tell until you get ink on paper. But anyways, the bottles are gorgeous, but they're tippy. They're easy to knock over. And if you're a klutz like I am, right, that is a problem. So what I end up doing with these inks is I use syringes, and it just makes it so easy. So I have ink syringes, and you can get these very inexpensively. They are blunt tipped, so you can't hurt yourself. And it just makes it so much easier. So you put your tip of your syringe in, you open your bottle. If it's a shimmer ink, you shake it really well. You open your bottle, you draw some ink up into the syringe, and then you fill your cartridge converter or your pen that way. The only thing is that if you are using a piston filler or a vacuum filler like these Twispies, that won't work, right? So what I have done for that is I have a little shot glass, and very stable shot glass, and I pour some of the ink into a shot glass, shaking it really well if it's a shimmer, and I fill it from there, and then I pour it back into the ink. I have a little funnel. So that works super well, okay? So while I wish they would address it, their little round bottles are more stable. These are just a problem. I mean, they're gorgeous, but that's my only complaint. It really is the only complaint. All right, so let's take a look. I mean, such quality glass bottles, a really heavy metal cap, and then they have these little seals that are really important not to lose these. You want to make sure that they go right back into the bottle. So let's start with a swatch of Malibu Blush. Of course, it's reminiscent of Barbie to me, right? And this is not a shimmer ink. It is a transparent ink. And we'll see if it has any sheening. I'll just really flood the paper in one area. All right. So that's Malibu Blush. So it's sort of, honestly, it's a beautiful coral pink is what it is. And I'm going to dip my glass pen into this ink, set it aside just in case, and I'm going to do a little writing sample. So I would say that this ink is going to be best in a medium nib. It is fairly light, right? Ferris Wheel Press Malibu Blush. And let's just one, two, three, four, five. Pretty wet ink. It doesn't dry really quickly. Let's just try 10 seconds. Yeah, it's going to take a long time to dry. By the way, this is MD paper, Midori. Not the cotton, just the regular. Let's try 20 seconds. Still not completely dry. So in my mind, this is going to be a sort of very slow dryer on something like Tomoe River paper. You're not going to want to use it in your Hobonichi unless you don't mind waiting, or, which I don't. I mean, I use inks that are slow to dry all the time. So you can use it in your in a notebook that tends to dry quicker with these slow drying inks. It is almost fluorescent. It's gorgeous. It's absolutely beautiful. It has really pretty shading there. We won't know until we're done if it has any sheening or not. We'll see how this is when it dries, but really, really beautiful color that I know I will enjoy. And I already know the pen I would put this in. I have a cream colored TWSBI Eco with a medium point, so it would write about like this, and the ink would show up nicely with a color like that. This is beautiful. Okay, so that is our Malibu pink. The next color I want to talk about is Bookkeeper's Brass, and I believe that this is a shimmer ink. Look at that gorgeous packaging. The cat, the books on the shelf, that's like my dream space right there. There's another cat. And it says, together we celebrate with a set of 3 wondrous inks made for every creative mind, writer, and artist. Sparkling ink, it says. This is the Curious Collaboration Series, Fall in Love with Writing Again. And it's a collaboration with, I'm sorry, but my Isutaya books, I think, because my eyes are really, really bad. This is part of the, doesn't say, so this is part of the regular collection, Fall in Love with Writing Again. All right, so let's open up Bookkeeper's Brass. I'm very excited about this one. It's a color that I typically really, really love, are brassy golds, and I love their shimmer inks. So let's see. So with the shimmer ink, you really have to shake your ink up. You don't want to agitate it, all right? If you agitate it, you're gonna get a lot of air into the ink. It's gonna be frothy and bubbly at the top, and that's not ideal if you're filling a pen or a syringe, all right? So you just wanna kind of gently agitate it, turn it over. You'll start to see when the ink is mixed. The inks do settle very quickly because the shimmer particles are heavier than the dye-based ink, and so it's going to settle to the bottom really fast. So you just want to have your swab ready or your syringe ready, right? And you just don't want to shake it hard. You can toss it and tumble it a little bit in your hands. With my pens, I just rub them between my hands like that, and it works really well. Okay, and I think that's pretty good. They settle really quickly, so you just have to be aware of that, okay? Oh yeah, that is absolutely gorgeous. Oh my God. Yeah, this is the color that I was most excited about. So this is Ferris Wheel. This is nice and dark too. Mid-tone, but dark, real nice. Bookkeepers Brass. Oh, absolutely gorgeous. And I am just guessing because I would say with all of their inks that I have, it's just a slow drying ink. It's really magical, and I find that the more magical the ink, the more time it takes to dry. Now that's a little bit better than the other one. Now I don't know, I probably waited too long. Let's do one more and wait 20 seconds. Yeah, there it's dry. So it's a little bit quicker than the Malibu Blush. Oh my gosh, it's just stunning. At the end, I'll do like a B-roll shot of the inks at a better angle so you can really see. So this is very saturated. The shimmer, it doesn't look like it's sheening. The shimmer is super saturated in this ink. It is stunning, stunning, stunning. Yeah, wow. All right. I just want to get this off my pen. good enough. Okay. And the final ink is called Cabernet on the Lake. Look at the birds. And there's knitting on the background. It's just cozy and beautiful. Flowers and knitting and locks and a pen or a crochet. No, that's a crochet hook. How gorgeous. Fall in love with writing again. And this says the same thing. This is also a sparkling ink. Hooray. Their sparkling inks are my very favorite. Although the first two I bought were not sparkling. But after that, it's all been about sparkle. Okay. I've also had a few samples of their inks that I've gotten from places, and they've all been beautiful, but of course they're gone. I use them up. One of them that I really loved was called Aventurine. That was beautiful. And Blushing Mushroom was very special. Steeped Umber was a really gorgeous brown. So, Cabernet on the Lake. How gorgeous is this? I know I'm going to love this. One of my very favorite inks is Oxblood by Diamine, I call it. I think it might be Diamine inks out of England. And the other one is Writer's Blood. I love those deep, dark blood red claret colors. Okay, let's see. Hopefully I mixed that enough. We'll know right away, right? Oh, yeah, stunning. All right, let's see what we get here. So this ink is really wet. I can see beautiful shading already. Let me write that one more time. See how much wetter it is? Yeah, it flows beautifully off this pen. Not all inks do, you know, I've got some that just don't flow off this pen. So. Ah, pretty good. This one was just super juicy, and you see it's still wet, right? So this one's great as far as drawing on the page. What a color. You know what it reminds me of? You know at Halloween when you have spiced candy apples, that hard red glaze on the apple, it's like that, but shimmery. The shimmer is sort of like a rose gold. It's not red. There might be red in there also. But it's like a rose gold shimmer. That is stunning. Oh, I'm going to use that a lot. I know it. So let's let these dry completely so we can take a look at the sheen here. And while they are drying, I'm going to gather my watercolor paper and some water and a brush. And some watercolor, and just see how these react with watercolor paints. Okay, so yeah, I don't think it's going to sheen. It's a fairly light color to sheen, but you just always are curious if it might. These are stunning. They're so beautiful. I'm so excited. This is definitely my favorite, second favorite, and I will use this, but maybe more in the springtime to write letters and stuff. But these are, ooh, yummy. All right, so, and again, I'll take a good picture of them. So I've got some watercolor paper. This is just Canson XL paper, which is great for playing around. I have some deep, deep light watercolors, which are my very, very favorites. There's always more about those on my channel. You can find things about them. I've got some water. And I just want to see how the paints react. So let's start with this brass because it's just too gorgeous. This reminds me of the Goose Poupon a little bit, except it's a little bit richer and more sheen. So I like to start with just some water on the paper and just to see how the ink moves. So this is just a water glaze. And if I stick my brush in there and just touch the edge of a water glaze, sometimes inks will just whoosh through. And this is not, it is staying still. If I add a little bit more water to it, it will move a little bit, okay? But it's not whooshing, which not all inks do. Some do, some do not. If I add some watercolor, let's do this wild berry. See how that just moves on the paper? Let's see what it does with the ink. These kinds of experiments are so much fun. Those colors are beautiful together. Now always make sure if you are using ink with watercolor that you make sure that you rinse your brush really well and that you don't use your best brushes. Now I'm gonna have to shake this up again. That's the thing. So if you had like a little shot glass you could use a syringe and put some into, then you could just stir it up in that shot glass and then pour it back. But again, just be really sure that you're not getting extra water in your bottle of ink or any other color in your bottle of ink. You have to use good watercolor. I don't know what I want to call it, hygiene. So I'm just going to drop some in to the watercolor. Gosh, this will be one that I use often. I can just tell already. All right, let's see what happens when that dries. So let's try a little glaze. Here, and we'll try some of the Malibu Blush. And this is sort of like an opera rose or like a Doc P.H. Martin's radiant pink kind of color. You see, this is going to move a little bit more. It's very beautiful, and it's super, super, what do I want to call it? It's like neon, like fluorescent. Very, very dye-based. Okay, and it's not really separating because sometimes these inks will separate into many different colors, you know. What do I want to try with this? Something, you know, I wonder, honestly, maybe some ultramarine. Give us some brilliant purple. That's pretty. Just try a little bit more of this and drop it into the blue. So see, I'm rinsing my brush, drying it off completely before I go back into this bottle. And just a quick dip, I'm not lingering. Okay, so they don't seem to like spread into each other too much. They're staying a little bit separate. You see that? Which happens. It's not uncommon at all. But it's good to play and to see what they do, because you'll remember this, and you'll have these swatch sheets in your sketchbook and whatever that you can rely on and remember certain effects that you found. So now I think maybe this one, Night Raspberry, will do. But let's put some water down and see just what the ink on its own does. That tells us a lot. This is going to be a lot of fun. I'm so excited about that color. Once you get them and you do mix them, if you're using them off and on throughout a day, they're much easier to mix up. They don't take so long to mix up each time. Oh yeah, look at that one spread. See how different that is? They're all different. You just never know. You never know what you're going to get. This is just indigo. And those are mixing together. What about if I used, I just want to see what would happen. If I dropped some white into these. Now see, now this one isn't moving a whole lot, but the middle one is. Let's see what happens over here. This is zinc white. That is so beautiful. Do you see the textures? Yeah. Wow. You know, this Malibu pink is almost like the undertone in the Cabernet. Wow, really gorgeous. Let me just try, I don't want to move my paper too much, but I have to tilt my paper to paint sometimes. Let me just put a little water down, and I'm just going to try. Let's see what happens. Okay. And we'll just put a little bit of a grassy area. I don't have the best colors right here for a landscape, but this is a very floral toned palette. All right, let's see what happens. I'm just going to use a little bit of watercolor. Let's give myself some trees. Let's see what happens. If okay, I'm excited to see these on a real watercolor paper too, like not student grade. Okay, so let's see what happens if I take some of the brass. I'll really try to capture this for you guys when I take B-roll because it's so beautiful. So a lot of times how I like to use ink with, I do it abstract, you know, like just sort of expressively, but I also just like to add little bits into a watercolor painting. And sometimes I'll just use a glass pen or a dip pen in general, or a fountain pen with the ink in it. And see what happens. This paper's not going to like a glass pen, I can already tell. See, it's leaving marks on the paper. The paper's not strong enough. That's okay. It doesn't matter. All right, now let me close this up. So what I'm looking for is just how it reacts with watercolor. You know, if it's something that I think I'll want to do. Because sometimes you can get really fun results with ink and watercolor mixed. The other thing that is super fun to do is to draw with your fountain pen when you have these inks in it, and then just use a watercolor, just a water glaze or wash on top. And that can just be amazing. Even those little marks even look kind of cool that the pen left. And let's see. Might be too dark. So when I put the darker tree line in, and I touch it to whatever's in the field, what is ideal is if the two interact and they make like a very subtle grassy texture. That's really not happening here. So they're stopping at one another, and all inks are different. Like the Cabernet might really react, right? So you just have to practice with them and play and just see what happens. It's still beautiful. But you see how it just stops? A lot of times what you get is this feathery interaction with one another. Not always, but sometimes. So it's worth knowing if your inks and watercolors. The other thing is, it might react to my Winsor & Newton paints different than it reacts to the Deep Deep Light paints, right? You just never know. That's what playtime is for. That's what these little swatching experiments are for, just to play. And then make note of how things react. So yeah, that's really beautiful though. Okay. Gosh, these are gorgeous. I'm really excited about them. Well, thank you so much for watching. And I'm going to let this all dry completely, and then I'll come back and take some B-roll in natural light so you can see the colors up close. All right, and also of the initial swatches. So again, Ferris Wheel Press, Malibu Blush, Bookkeeper's Brass, and Cabernet on the Lake. Just exquisite. Love them. All right. See you soon. Take care. Really, really rich. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous patina on that one. Yeah, these are very special. Really beautiful. So my feeling is that I will definitely use the brass in watercolor paintings. And it may even be fairly light fast. I might do a light fast test on it. The Malibu blush, probably not. It's just not the kind of color I use. I'm not a purple pink person really in my work. I think they're gorgeous. I just don't use them in my work typically. And this one, maybe. I don't really know how I would use it yet. Because again, I don't really paint flowers. But I might abstract in an abstract way because it's so gorgeous and it just really is kind of sumptuous. And then, yeah, I need to try it with some more transparent watercolors because I'm not really crazy about how that turned out at all. I don't know, it's just too heavy. And it also could be this watercolor paper if I use it on real watercolor paper. But this one, oh yeah, this is going to be a mainstay for me. I know that. I know already. It'll look gorgeous with indigos and greens and black and brown. You know, aquamarine, all the colors that I normally use. So that one I mean, that is yummy. All right. Thanks so much. See you soon.